Alright, what's up guys? In today's video, we're going over what is the best LMG in Call of Duty Warzone. We're going to be comparing the 4 best LMGs head to head in the overall range, damage, accuracy, and then the mobility, and then the overall time to kill, which is one of the most important factors due to the fact that you have 250 health in Warzone, which in multiplayer you only have 100. So the overall time to kill, in my opinion, is what makes a gun pretty good as far as comparing is it actually worth using in the game. Like I said, we're going to be comparing all these guns head to head. The Holger 26 was left off the list because it lacks very hard in time to kill. Like, it is significantly slower at the max range, which makes it 100% the worst LMG to use. I do not recommend it at all to ever be used. This is basically for you guys who are trying to make the best personal loadout. When you buy that personal loadout, trying to use the best gun possible. Some of the LMGs I'm going to be talking about in this video, you guys probably do not expect that are going to be excellent. And then obviously the PKM, you guys know, is probably a pretty good gun because it's a very good gun. I've 100% recommended in multiplayer. So all these stats are going to be based on just the base gun with no real attachments on it. Obviously you guys can improve that significantly. So talking about the overall damage, 3 of the LMGs are identical in damage, 8 to 9 shots to kill. The biggest thing about LMGs you'll notice is there's only a 1 bullet difference between the ranges, which is obviously the biggest factor for these guns. So 3 of them have the same damage profile. The SA87 has an excellent damage profile, only takes 7 to 8 shots to kill. As far as the range, you guys can compare the PKM, the M91, and the M34. The M91 will kill in 8 shots up to 45 meters. The PKM will kill in 8 shots up to 40 meters, and the MG34 lax will kill up to 8 shots only at 32 meters, which is pretty much AR level. The 8 shots I'm talking about is obviously with 250 health. So the biggest difference switching up from those guns to the SA87 is it will kill in 7 shots up to 50 meters, which is incredible. That's almost growl. The SA87 reminds me of the growl of the LMGs. The range is absolutely incredible compared to that of the rest of the guns. So basically, if you compare the ranges, the PKM is obviously middle of the pack. M91 is excellent. The MG34 lacks extremely hard in range. And then obviously anything above the original, the 40, the 45, the 32, and the 50, it's going to be 1 more bullet difference, which the time to kill doesn't really change that much. Then talking about obviously the attachments, because you guys are running personal line with 5 attachments. All these guns have the same 20% increase damage range with if you add the longest long barrel attached to monolith suppressor. So the damage increase you're going to get is all the same. The one difference between the assault rifles, if you put a really good class up on it, the range could be significantly increased. And as far as the overall fire rate, the MG34 is 860 rounds per minute, which is the 5th fastest firing weapon in the game. The SA87 lacks only at 600 rounds per minute, which is extremely slow. One of these slowest shooting guns in the game. The M91 is just a little bit faster at 660, and the PKM is right there, middle of the pack. Average is 750. So the fire rate is what, in my opinion, converts directly to the overall accuracy and what makes the gun very accurate. You guys can tell the MG34 is 860 rounds per minute is going to make it the least accurate weapon. It does have the fastest time to kill because the fire is so fast, but the first few bullets are going to be very hard to hit with the MG34, so you're going to have to aim a little bit different with this weapon than the other ones. Recoil pattern's actually pretty good with the 5 attachment class setup, but the class setup you have to make for it is a bit of a different one because it does lack in the mobility category. The PKM has the #1 best recoil pattern, has the least amount of recoil pattern possible. Once again, has that unique attachment, which is obviously the snatch grip, which helps your aim down sight time, and obviously the overall recoil pattern. So you can stack like 3 different recoil attachments on this gun, which makes the vertical recoil pattern absolutely amazing. M91 is definitely a good second. The recoil is a little bit less than that of the SA87, but all these have an excellent recoil pattern. So talking about the overall mobility, this is where the biggest difference separates all these weapons. I want to start with the negatives first because the MG34 is absolutely atrocious. Usually LMGs are anywhere between 88 to 91, 92% movement speed, which is a little bit on the slower end, a little bit slower than assault rifles. The MG34 is 83% movement speed, which is extremely slow, like almost dinosaur level slow. Definitely the lowest mobility, and it has the lowest aim down sight time, which was where it lacks significantly. Obviously, if this gun's excellent up at close range, you're really going to use it close to mid range, but you still can't aim down sight. You can't move as fast. It's definitely going to make you an easier target to kill in one-on-one gunfights. The PKM and the M91 are both average, have pretty much average aim down sight times, really only like minimal percentage differences. Movement speeds are almost identical. Then the SA87 has the fastest aim down sight time, and then has the fastest movement speed, almost AR level at 92%. So the SA87 is excellent weapon in the mobility category, and like I said, once again, it's excellent in the damage and the range. So out of 4 of the categories previously announced, the damage, range, accuracy, mobility, the SA87 takes number 1 in 3 of the first 4 categories. So we're going to see how that translates directly to the most important part, which is the overall time to kill, because obviously this is the biggest factor in determining how good a weapon is and if I should actually use it in Warzone. Up to 40 meters, the MG34 is going to have the fastest time to kill. The PKM is going to take second. The SA87 is going to take third, and then the M91 is going to take fourth. The M91 is definitely going to be lacking because the overall fire rate is around the same as the SA87 with a lower damage. So it's definitely going to be lacking in the overall time to kill. As far as the biggest difference switching between the 40 to 45 meters, the only real difference is the SA87 and the PKM are going to be pretty much identical. The PKM is going to lack in that field right there, is because that's where the range drop off is, and that is where the SA87 is going to overtake it and get up there pretty close to being almost number 1 fastest killing weapon. Then obviously if you go to the 45 to 50 meter category, which is where the M91 damage drop off is, this is where it chunks all the way back down to the bottom. The PKM is going to overtake it once again, but the SA87 and the MG34 are still number 1 and number 2. So up to 40 meters, up to 45 and 50 meters, the MG34 is the number 1 fastest killing weapon. And then obviously from 40 to 50 meters, the SA87 is going to take number 2, which is a pretty good factor. And the biggest difference is there's so many different range changes with these weapons. Above 50 meters is where the SA87 is going to drop off and is going to go back down to third once again, killing about 10% slower than the PKM here. So the PKM is definitely pretty much average. It's number 2, and then pretty much average number 2. So the close to mid-range, the PKM is pretty good. Above 50 meters, the PKM is once again pretty good. So at close range and at long range, the PKM is going to have one of the fastest time to kills. And once again, like I said, the accuracy is incredible. But the MG34 obviously takes number 1 overall in the time to kill stats here. So to us, some of the unique factors about this weapons, about what makes them unique. Obviously the ammo counts, the SA87 only has 30 rounds. The PKM and the M91 both have 100. And then obviously the MG34 with the fastest fire rate possible is only 50. And the place where it lacks once again is in the reload speed, about 8 seconds. To have the slowest reload time with the fastest fire rate is an absolutely atrocious negative in my personal opinion. The M91 has the fastest reload time, which doesn't really make a big factor here. The PKM and the SA87 are pretty average. So the biggest thing to note here is the MG34 might have the fastest time to kill, but as far as killing 2 ammo clips back to back, it's going to lack because it does reload so much slower. So that's the biggest difference. And then obviously, talking about the basic breakdown of these weapons, I have the SA87 ranked number 1 just because it has excellent range, has excellent mobility. Mobility is definitely outclasses the rest. The damage is a little bit higher. So, you know, if you're trying to get those people that are weaker, it's going to kill faster as far as the overall damage. It has pretty good accuracy. The biggest negative, it has a slow aim down sight time, which can't really be countered that well with the class setup, which is a huge negative. And it obviously does have low ammo. So it's got a bunch of positives. Like I said, it's basically the growl of the LMGs. I love it a lot. I personally used it last night, and I found myself absolutely crushing players at long distance fights with the SA87. The accuracy was excellent. The range was excellent. I killed 2 or 3 people in a row, like at 100+ meters using this weapon, and just absolutely obliterated the enemy. And then number 2 is we're going to have the PKM. Has amazing accuracy, pretty average mobility, has decent range, but the biggest thing is the time to kill at long range is excellent. So if you combine that accuracy with the time to kill at long range being very good, it's going to be pretty good to get those long range kills, which in my opinion, Warzone is where most of your fights are going to be, anywhere above 40 meters, unless you're literally in the first drop of the game. A lot of your fights are anywhere from 40 to 100 meters, so this is where the PKM is going to excel. But like I said, the difference between number 1 and number 2 being the SA87 versus PKM, it's all personal opinion. For me personally, like I said, using the SA87, I just found all the stats to be very good. Ranks number 1 in a bunch of the categories. So as far as the M91, it has good range, it has good recoil, it has a fast reload time, but to have a fast reload time is one of its best bonuses, and decent range and decent recoil is what makes an average weapon. It has a low fire rate and a low time to kill at every single range, which is the lowest rated. This is definitely the worst LMG, definitely something you 100% do not want to use in Warzone. And obviously the MG34, it's the time to kill god. It's basically the Ram 7 of the LMGs. It has excellent time to kill because of the fire rate. It lacks in range. The accuracy is decent. The ADS is slow. The mobility is horrible, and the reload is horrible. So it has basically one positive, which is the overall fire rate, for 4 or 5 other negatives. So I do have it ranked worse than the PKM and the SA87, obviously, just because of the fact that the time to kill is so fast. But the overall stats besides that is where it lacks completely. So the SA87 just has so many good positives about it, in my opinion, similar to that of the GFUEL. It's just a very simple gun you could put on any person's hands and they'll do excellent with it. So let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think is actually the #1 LMG to use in Call of Duty Warzone. If you guys did enjoy the video, you guys learned anything new, you want to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Make sure you guys use code Trapgod on all of your SCUF and GFUEL purchases. And I'll talk to you guys in the next